Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of the Triple Trio, your weekly look at all things Hong Kong racing and also a bit of a look through the globe of world racing as well. And we do it with an unbelievable team. Clint Hutchison, the best form analyst in the business. Shane Dye, our Hall of Fame jockey, and we're all around the world. I'm in Perth, Hutch is in Melbourne, Shane's in the Gold Coast. Hutch, welcome. Looking forward to a big show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a big show as well. Yeah, the wonders of modern technology all over Australia. Hong Kong focused, and we've got plenty to talk about, Richo, with a great weekend of racing in the lead up to the internationals in a couple of weeks. And this meeting on the weekend, I think, is an absolute beauty. There's a lot of depth throughout the card, a lot of good bets, and I can't wait to talk about it.
I'm in Perth because last night the Australian Racing Hall of Fame was on and they inducted Clary Connors into the Hall of Fame. And Shane, he's alongside you and he paid tribute to you. I asked him about all of his two-year-olds. He said, I had the little ace up the pack, and that was Raymond Shane Dye. You had 16 Group 1s combined. Great trainer, mate.
Unbelievable. Like, we had Derby winners, Oaks winners. We won the Triple Crown twice with Burst, the only filly to ever do it. And I think there's only 6 horses in the career of racing, in the history of racing, I should say, that have done it. And, of course, Terse. And we should have had 3 in Counter. He shied at my whip at the 200, or he would have won, and he went on to win the Sires and the Champagne. Clary was a great trainer. I respected him. Could blow up at times. Don't worry about that. I think I barred him once because he blew up over a ride, which I thought was good, but we got on well. We had our differences at times, but you always do, and congratulations to him. Got a great wife too, Marie.
Yeah,
very
beautiful.
Very nice lady.
Shane, do you still have those 4 slippers that you used to have a chain back in the day? I'm not sure if you still got it, but you do have it. Yeah, there you go. There's his 4 slippers.
I've got a St. Christopher's from my mum to keep me safe, which it has so far with all my accidents, and I've never taken any of this off ever. And I've got a Lucky Horseshoe, I've got 4 golden slippers, I've got Lucky Dice, I've got a Royal Flush, sentimental things there.
That is absolutely.
Imagine if he liked tattoos, Richo. Imagine what he'd look like. Hey?
Haven't got one and not about to start to get any.
Mate, whatever you do, you do not graffiti what you've got, my friend. You just let it hide. We have got a huge show coming up, but first, let's have a look at all the highlights of last week.
I think there's a bet earlier in the day. Raging Blizzard, who ran really well on debut.
Raging Blizzard is in front. He's 3/4 clear, and he is going to go home to give John Size 1,500 wins.
Yes, definitely. He looks like a very nice sprinter to me. And hopefully he managed to get it up step by step.
Galaxy Patch, though, back onto the turf, swept past Northern Beaches. Celestial Colours, the air flies home into minor money. Galaxy Patch, too good.
One quick thing, race 4 I've still got to pay for Hong Kong.
What's going on
I'll say
there?
this, Shane, I think you'd be surprised. I've got a reasonably short price runner in that. So.
Packing Treadmill, he's a length over Helios Express, then came Lucky Encounter. It's still Packing Treadmill. Helios Express is trying hard to nab him at the post, and will. Helios Express.
Brilliant week last week. We get ready to burst out of the gates with all the latest news and, of course, Genius or Slaughter, the SID file as well, future winners, and also a look to the international meeting. So it is a jam-packed show. First, let's burst out of the gates. Burst out of the gates, Hutch, with John Size, who struck an unbelievable milestone last weekend.
What he's done in Hong Kong racing is really unchallenged. I know John Moore holds the record, but John was there in the amateur days when it turned professional and had a big head start. Shane can speak his side of the story. Was closely linked, of course, with John, but year after year he just produces. He's the best trainer in Hong Kong, no doubt about it. His record says it. And Shane, like you've said many a time, you said he's the best you've worked with, and it's easy to see why, I suppose.
Yeah, he's different. He does things differently. He's not a track work person. It's about getting a horse happy. He taught me a lot. I went to Mauritius and more or less took his formula there. I rode for a trainer who wasn't leading trainer, and he was leading trainer straight away with not a lot of horses, and had been ever since until he passed away about 2 years ago. Won the premiership nearly every year up there. So no, he's a genius. There's no doubt about it. I think he's been there 22 years, Clint, and he's run first or second every year. I could be wrong. He might have had 1/3, but he's definitely run first or second practically every year.
And from the moment he got there, Richo, literally with his first sort of set of runners, you know, you could see the improvement in all of them, and you know, he just kept winning race after race. And in those days, in the early stages, you know, he was taking horses off other trainers, a bit like I suppose Joe Pride has to an extent, and what John did in Sydney. But really, he's changed and evolved, and now he gets horses, you know, on their way through, and he doesn't really take any horses off any other stables. He does it all himself. He sources them. He knows his form exceptionally well, and yeah, he's something pretty special.
And Hutch, I haven't done the maths, but he needs, 235 approximately to go past John Moore. Does he have enough time before he's forced to retire?
Yeah, well, those goalposts may move. Who knows? You know, he's still in good health, but yeah, John didn't get an extension. John Moore, that is. John's size. I mean, the way he's training, it's a bit like with Bart, wasn't it? Or not Bart, but other older trainers, when they get older and people say, oh, well, aren't they a bit old now? But I suppose they've got their systems, they know and in Hong Kong particularly, when it's not a physical thing, why can't John, you know, continue on, I suppose? He's in pretty good health and he's still doing an unbelievable job.
I was Tommy Smith's jockey when he passed away, and he more or less gave a lot of the horses to Gay, of course, but he was still training and he was as good as gold. His memory, every horse he knew, he went to track work every day. Trainers can train for a long time. It's not like a jockey. We can't keep riding, but trainers can keep training. Just back on John Sayers, Rich, I'm going to tell you a little story. He got there to Hong Kong with 12 horses and they weren't much good, and I started riding a bit for him. And he was 20-something wins behind Ivan Allen in the premiership, and it was December. And he never had a runner for about the first 6 weeks, did he, Clint, in those days?
No.
And I remember one day telling John Schreck in December, this bloke will win the premiership this year. I'm telling you. And he said, what? I said, he'll win the premiership. I could see what was happening in the stable before anyone else could, and how the horses were transforming, and I kind of concentrated on him. And, of course, he went on to win the premiership on the last day, beating Ivan Allen, which was unbelievable.
There was a jockey that you put on the radar a couple of weeks ago, Shane, through your idol voting, and said, Brett Navdullah is riding really well. Well, he was rewarded big time on Sunday.
Yeah, 4 winners, outstanding. I gave him, you asked me about a month ago what was wrong, and he wasn't riding well. He was doing things wrong, but all of a sudden he must have listened to that show. He's changed. He's riding very well. I'm going to highlight him later in a race and explain why he's changed a bit. And no, he's going good. The seconds are now firsts, and a lot of them are just winning because he's doing things different in races.
And a Wednesday night was pretty competitive, Hutch, at the Valley. It can be hard to find the winner, but Karis Teeton and Vincent Ho had a nice double.
They did. Karis he's ticking up the winners. And look, this race, they had a couple of interesting races in terms of race shape and pace and tempo and some tactics. Some pretty ordinary tactics, to be honest. But look, Happy United, it was no disadvantage to be sort of wide on the track on Wednesday. A lot of horses covered ground. You normally can't do that. Great to see Vincent back. He's riding well. That horse was off a wide trip prior with Hugh on board, stripped a little bit fitter. Of course, trained by Jamie Richards, and a couple of welcome winners for Jamie. Needed to sort of boot a couple home, and he did the same last year, Richo. So maybe this is the time of year where Jamie's going to start to get some momentum.
Yeah, you got a double at Happy Valley, and let's have a look at the premiership at the moment and see how it stands. And it's really, really interesting viewing, isn't it, when you look at who's at the top. And we've seen Zach Purton start to really flex his muscles now that Huey is out of the saddle. So Karis Teeton at the moment gives Zach an 11-win lead. Now, Pierre Ung has a solid lead at the moment, Hutch, over Casper Founds, who's building a wonderful team, and he's got a good a team building up towards not only the international meeting, but, of course, the back end of the season. So they're all of our reigning champions at the moment. Hey, Shane, you asked a question last week. Why wasn't Frankie Dettori invited to the International Jockey Challenge? Well, the reason was because he's in the jungle, young man. He's a celebrity. Get me out of here. Can you believe it? He just transcends racing, doesn't he, Frankie?
He does. A funny story about Get Me Out of Here. One of the first episodes or first year, they asked me to do it, and I said no, but I spoke to my two boys. And Lance O'Sullivan had won Treasure Island, you know, when it was filmed in Fiji, like Survivor. And he said, if you ever do one of these shows, you're going to destroy them, Shane, because I don't have to eat. And he was on there with footballers and all big people, and he said they all went crazy. He said, you got no idea. They can't handle it because of food. So anyway, I said to my two boys, I should go on I'm a Celebrity, go into the box in the private room and tell everyone, listen, vote for me to do the skits the eating
the
of
challenges
things every week. The challenges, that's the word I was looking for. And I won't get any stars. I won't do them. But then watch the camp. I'll come back with no stars and they will go crazy. Everyone will have no food. And it won't bother me because I can go without food for a long time. It's all mental. And I've been used to it all my life. Yeah, so no, I didn't do it. Wasn't it?
Can you pass that superpower on to us? What do you mean you have to eat?
I'll tell you now, it's all mental. Once you get over the hunger craves in your stomach, if you can mentally just say, right, I did it, when did I do it? About 4 or 5 months ago, I went 3 days just to see if I could do it, and I did it. Yeah, 3 days.
Hey, Shane, how do you think Frankie will go on it?
He's a celebrity, mate. He's a superstar. He'll be good anywhere. I don't know about him eating bloody spiders and all that. He's a bit high maintenance and high class for all that. But, there he is. I haven't seen any of this.
Have a look at him.
Now, he'll give it a go.
Oh, here he is straight away. What is that, raw chicken in his mouth or something like that? Oh, yuck.
He's the legend. Oh, I don't mind a chicken, boys. I could do that too. But get those snakes and scorpions and all that. Leave me out of that.
I'm probably not chicken. I don't know what that is. But anyway, Frankie's off and away, and he's not at the international. Yeah, stuff that, Hutch. That's not our areas. Hey, talking about the international meeting, last weekend we saw the traditional lead up towards the international meeting from the local point of view.
150 to go, Sunline's a length in front. In Prawn lifts, they come to the line. Sunline, the mare of the world, wins it.
Can we start with Lucky Swainess? Simply Hutch, how well's he going?
Not as well as he was last season. Not as well as he was this time last year. Yeah, his ratings on me are a little bit below in it. It's judged up by what he did. Look, he won. He's going to be a little bit better off at the weights. He got a good run in the race. I think the race was truly enough run. They didn't break any records early, but they're not going to next month either, I don't think. So, he drove him a little bit to hold a spot there. There was a little bit of interference. I think Brendan Abdullah might have copped the day, Shane, just for coming in a little bit there, and there was some backwash. But I was a little underwhelmed. I was expecting him to win by at least a length, but I suppose he's won and he's headed in the right direction. And thought Wellington was a good return, but he's clearly not where he was visually, and the numbers back it up.
Shane, what do you think?
I'm not too sure. I still think he wins the international. He might not be going as good. He didn't have everything go his way here early on. I think Brendan Novella was very unlucky to get suspended. He got used a bit in the race, which he can do, and that's what caused him to get suspended. And stewards don't take into that when you get used. He still boxed on and won, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. But look, yeah, he's getting away a bit from him late. And he had a very hard run early in the race, getting buffeted and pushed hard. I still think he wins the internationals. He beats the Aussie horse, the Hong Kong horses, I think.
Yeah, well, the only thing they'll weigh up, though, Rich, is this. He hasn't won by a big margin. You could see he didn't step low. These barrier manners are still an issue for him. Now, it cost him last year. He drew inside. He didn't step brilliantly, and he was a victim to, and he should have won, but he was a victim to what was evolving around him. And I think it could easily happen again. So he's the horse to beat. But I wouldn't be taking a short quote about him on the back of that lead up. He has to be favourite, and he has to be a clear favourite. But, the public, they love the champion. They'll be right behind him. And look, Victor the winner's only gone down by a small margin, and he's going to run well. Wellington's going to strip fitter. So and he's not for mine going as well. So I think it's a little more interesting than probably what it was going in.
Yeah,
There's
I agree
still
with that.
5 pounds turnaround, isn't there, from that run, Clint?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not the weight for me. The weight is irrelevant. It's more where he ends up in the run, and it's probably a bonus for him, Shane, if he draws wide, and then he can go. Zach can probably put him more forward or give him some clear air. As we know on the A course on that day, being drawn high is going to be a better spot to be than inside.
Correct. Like Ryan Moore just rides the A track unbelievable every year. He just sits 3 deep on things when the track's off. In the sprint one, Wellington last year, have a look at his ride on that. So drawn wide, sitting 3 deep won't be a problem for Lucky Schwers. So you want him to draw wide. You're correct.
So what about the Jockey Club mile, Shane? So where are you at with California Spangle? How good of a win here by Beauty Eternal, just knocking off Beauty Joy? What did you make of this?
Well, Clint may have it different, but I had California Spangle going about 10 lengths faster to 9 lengths faster in this race than than the fortnight before, first up when he won. So he was never going to win when he got taken on and they're running those times. Probably the horse that should have won is the horse last, Beauty Joy, if he doesn't drop his whip.
Shane, just quickly, Shane, why didn't Matthew Chadwick cross Healthy Happier earlier there?
He probably should have. He was taking his time. He should have come across, and then he dug up a bit, and then he had to let him roll a bit more. And, of course, that takes energy and time faster. The other thing is, I will say this, Golden 60's sitting at home in his box, and after watching this race, I'm just happy as anything. These horses aren't going to beat him if he turns up. There's not a hope in the world they will.
No, I agree with that. And the race set up nicely for those horses that just had no part of that early pressure. It was messy early. He didn't cross Healthy Happy. He then kicked up. The front three worked too hard. Beauty Eternal sat out of it. Beauty Joy sat out of it. And Beauty Joy's the horse to take a line through, I think. He's well exposed. We know how good he is. I think Zach rode Beauty Eternal really well for the race. He has improved. John Size had given him a couple of trials. And he's going to run well. He's going to run well. There's not going to be much between... I think he could easily finish top 3 in December. But I agree with what you said, Shane. I'm still taking a line through Beauty Joy, and he's never been in the same ballpark as a Golden 60. And even if Golden 60 is a length or two off, he's still got him covered.
Yeah. The race was run to suit those two horses, and I wouldn't be worried. Unless there's something from overseas, Clint, which I don't know about. But those horses there are not going to beat Golden 60. I don't care if he hasn't had a run. He's still going to beat them.
Well, it just comes down to the Japanese horses, so more on them later on as we build up to that international meeting. They're going to be the biggest challenge for Golden 60. What about the Cup? Shane, you've been talking a lot about Straight Aaron. He had a good win there. But do these horses go to the International Cup, or do they extend out some of them out to the Vars?
Well, they'll go in both. They'll switch.
Yeah.
This is another case. If I'm Romantic Warrior sitting at home in my box, I'm not worried about these horses. They're not going to beat him either in the 2,000 metres. But this is a nice horse, and I've been saying it for a long time. It was his D-Day here. He had to step up, and he did. He got a very, very good ride from Vincent, and he won with authority in the end. And it didn't surprise me he won. His trial leading into this was good. And I've always liked this horse. He's a nice horse, but unfortunately, he's got to run into Romantic Warrior, who's that class above him, Clint.
Oh, absolutely. Completely agree. It was good to see Straight Aaron back. Overall, the time wasn't great. I mean, a lower class race on the day. I mean, they crawled early. It was messy. We had horses taking off. Look, I thought Sword Point was a pass mark. That's it. Straight Aaron. I thought Vincent, this was a great Vincent ride. And this is almost his MO, really. Vincent, he loves to give him a little bit of time early and then slowly build into his races, and that's what Straight Aaron did. So he'll run well, but yeah, they're a bit off where Romantic Warrior is. Now, the question with Romantic Warrior is, where is he going to be at after a Cox Plate campaign? And he will effectively be third up going to the international races, but it's still travel and all that sort of thing. But these horses are well off where they need to be internationally against some quality opposition. I haven't gone right through the field, but if you're bringing Group 1 performers, and I think at the international races this year in Hong Kong, they've got 16 individual Group 1 winners attending the meeting at this point. You know, you're just not going to be super competitive. It's just as simple as that. Romantic Warrior can be. Straight Aaron and probably Sword Point the pick of this bunch, but Yeah, I was underwhelmed by this performance, and I don't think these horses are going to be competitive over 2,000 or further.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Points the one that will improve it, but he had to use them from the 1,400 to the 1,000 more or less, and it just took the energy out of him to finish the race off. And if the horse hadn't come up and around and taken him on, then he probably wins that race, Clint. But unfortunately, it did. It can do that every time. Someone can always go forward in a slow run race, and that's what cost him.
Well, the fields have been announced for the international races, the 4 big Group 1s, and worth extraordinary amounts of money, in excess of $3 million for each of them. Now, here is the Vase, and once again, we'll see here, Hutch. This will be the race that it's unlikely, you would think, that will stay in Hong Kong.
Normally dominated by horses overseas. There was that period where we had Exultant, who was an absolute star, and he was great in the 1.5 mile races. But yeah, Europe usually dominates, and Japan have also been there on occasion. But what makes this year interesting, West Wind Blows, of course, after his Melbourne campaign on the way home, they're going to compete, and Aidan O'Brien's got Warm Heart there as well. So look, I haven't got close to doing the form on the race, but good international representation, Shane, and that should be another good race.
The one thing that always sticks out is fillies go well in it from Europe for some reason. We see it every year, they go well.
The weight allowance.
Yeah, I know they've got the weight allowance, and they're only young, but it's a different time of year. It's not like in Australia how they're still young, those 3-year-old fillies. So you'd be able to tell me more about her than I know, Richo. How does she go?
She is a quality filly. She's a multiple Group 1 winner, and whatever beats her will be winning that race because she will be competitive. She arrives, she's got Ryan Moore on, she arrives in good shape and travels well. Well, then she's going to be the starting point with the Japanese horses. West Wind Blows, of course, the European who's come via Oceania. And then we just saw the sprint there. Gee, I reckon, Hutch, you think about the great sprinting jurisdictions around the world, and you think probably the fastest horses are produced by Australia. It's staggering that there's no Australian representative here. A horse like Buenos Noches, imagine how competitive he would be in a race like this. It's ridiculous.
Could not agree more. And it's not an easy trip, but there are harder options here. There are harder races here. Way harder races in Australia, I think, some of the feature races, and just takes a little bit of targeting. It is an international Group 1. I think it's something that they're dropping the ball with the Australians. I understand there's a lot of money on offer, and I understand that, those feature races they want to target, but they all can't win it. And if you just lower your expectations a little bit in the respect that, okay, we'll change your expectations, not lower them, but just say, what, let's tackle Hong Kong. And there's not the depth there that there is here at this point in time. That's not always the case, but, Lucky Sweynesse is there, and I wouldn't be worried about the Europeans. I'm not worried about the Japanese, and Australia's got the best sprinters in the world as a collective. So, yeah, I think it's something that they need to have a good hard look at themselves over.
Yeah, and I reckon also there's so many of the colts who don't go because they're looking for Group 1 status in Australia to make them as a stallion. But there's so many of them that are produced every year, Hutch. Think about every year we produce 5 or 6 stallions who come from Group 1 sprints in Australia. Why not go and win a Group 1 sprint in Hong Kong against the best in the world? And suddenly, isn't that a better marketing tool than winning, with due respect, a Lightning or a Newmarket or the Everest, etc., which, all the horses who will be standing in Australia have that on their CV. This could be something a little different, but
couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
But there's the flip side to that too, Richo. If he's a colt and he gets beat over there and gets whipped, what happens then?
Well, that's just a reality. That's the beauty of elite sport. You've got to be in elite sport, and where there's winners, and unfortunately, the rest are disappointed. But you've got to bounce back from that. It's worth the gamble.
At the current point in time, though, Shane, there's been times where the sprinting ranks has been a lot stronger in Hong Kong. Lucky Sweynesse aside, Wellington's 8, Sight Success. These horses, they're very, very talented sprinters. But there is a whole batch down here, even at that, just below the very top level, that would be highly competitive there. And, I think that there's a great opportunity going forward.
Well, Buenos Noches is the one. He's the one that I think about as a young horse who ran second down the straight
to Imperatrice.
The Superstar Imperatrice.
Yep.
Perfect race for him.
Richo, one quick question to you, mate. When you won the Stalled Gift, after you won it, did you dodge the elite or take them on?
No, I took them on, and I got retired about 5 years later.
You know what happened, Shane?
Consistently beaten.
He helped train the elite. They just used him as a little bunny.
So your value as a sire didn't go up?
No, but it wasn't diminished. It wasn't diminished because it's already there on your CV anyway. So that's... Hey, talking about sires, well, I don't know if there is any in this, but the mile. Let's talk about the superstar. There he is, right on top. His name is Golden 60, California Spangled, Dan and the Kid, Seraphos, and also Nemur's a really interesting one right down the bottom. They're all international Group 1 winners. This will be a beauty, Hutch.
Yeah,
if he turns up the champ, fascinated to see Nemur.
Well, he goes in first up, which is a question mark. I know he runs well fresh, but it's still a task tackling this opposition. The way Nemur won the lead-up race, she was awesome coming from back in the field and showed a blistering turn of foot, and Japan have got a good record in the mile. That's a sweet spot for them as well. They've brought over some quality milers over the period of time. So she's right in the game. And the other one that really catches my eye when I saw the list go at, Andre Fabre, when he travels with horses, he's such an astute trainer. He's been dominant in France over the years. And the fact that he's bringing one tribalist over, I haven't seen the form yet. I'm just looking forward to going through it. And I think his presence is very interesting and noteworthy.
Okay, and then the Cup, is this just totally dominated by the Hong Kong champ here, Shane, Romantic Warrior? He's going to be up against 3 really highly credentialed Japanese horses. He's going to need to be good.
Richo, you're better at this than me. I don't know the overseas form and watch it as well as you do. The best person to talk to on how he's going is definitely James McDonald. He knows him like the back of his hand. He's just outstanding. I know in the Cox Plate, he was telling me he's only 95%. He's not quite there yet. So he'll come back. I think he has a trial, doesn't he, Clint? And then he goes into the race, or he doesn't have a trial.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Shane, to be honest. But look, the good thing is, I mean, he is still at least third up. He's had a couple of runs. It's just more so the travel and how that impacts, I suppose, his work schedule. But the vision that I've seen of him working, albeit steady, he looks great. So I'm assuming that he's going to be very close to where he needs to be. But it's no walk in the park. Now, the interesting run here, and this is a big clash. This, for me, is the clash at this point in time at a first glance of the international races, and it's Prognosis. Round 2, of course, Prognosis was ridden by Zach Purton the last time they met back in the QE2. And he got a long way back and rattled home some incredibly good sectionals and looked good behind Romantic Warrior. And I think Zach felt at the time, I think he made some comments to various outlets that he could have gone very close. Since then, Prognosis have obviously been placed behind Equinox. So Prognosis is a really interesting runner to tie all these form lines in, and I'm looking forward. It'll be an absolute ripper.
It should be fantastic. And, of course, the lead up to it is Wednesday night for the International Jockey Challenge at Happy Valley. And this is always a highlight, Hutch. They bring the very best jockeys from all around the globe. Shane, you would have ridden in this. What's it like for all these jocks that arrive into Hong Kong and go toe-to-toe?
Oh, it's great. It's big prize money. I think the winner gets $500,000, which is over 100,000 or around 100,000 Australian dollars. And, of course, if you're living there, you don't pay much tax, not like Australia, so it's even better. But, no, it's a great... They're some of the best jockeys in the world. You haven't got the American jockeys over there who are very, very good, but struggle around Happy Valley because they're not used to that type of tight-turning, tight track. But, Ryan goes well every year. So does Zach. They always stand out, those two.
Yeah, Tom Markwood won it last year, of course. And interesting, I think, this year with the lineup as well. Lyle Hewitson, we should mention, I think he got there on a campback on Wednesday.
Yeah,
so well done to Lyle as well. So, it was up for grabs that pick. Yeah, the third's got him over the line. So Lyle gets an opportunity and he'll give it a real go, I'm sure. But what we will do next week, Richo, just to preface it for, the build-up, last year we put, the sort of better rides in the races before the declarations or acceptances came out. So I'll give a list out next week of the top 4 rides in each race, and then gives people an opportunity to have a look prior to barriers, etc., the better chances.
Yeah, the pen will be poised. You nailed it last year. No pressure. Just make sure you do it again this year.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's a highlight. It's a great appetizer. I mean, we'll be there on the night. We're going to go and get amongst it, Richo. So it's going to be, it's always a good evening. And I haven't been back to Hong Kong for a while, so I can't wait to catch up with everyone and see all those brilliant jockeys in action.
I don't know what get amongst it means, but I'm all A for available, Shane, and you're going to be my wingman.
In Lake Kwai Fong?
Well, I was thinking Happy Valley, but you're probably going to be busy working. So the international meeting, you'll see unprecedented coverage of every aspect of it right here on the Triple Trio through Hutchi's Honkers.
They're off, and Sugar missed the start by 4 lengths. Then Dublin Star, Sugar fast buck, smart leader. Oversubscribed, lunges at the post, missed. Sugar, that's a sweet win for Alfie Chad.
Our black bookers here on the Triple Trio is called the Sweet in Defeat file. And Hutch, you're in control of the SID file. Who jumps in?
There's only 2 from the past week, and look, there was a lot of nice races, but I think there's 2 potential future winners, and one of those comes out of the penultimate race last weekend at Sha Tin, where we saw a Casper Founds debutant in the air. Now, this horse was interesting because he raced in Australia, and he came out of a very good form race, although it was only a benchmark race. Hawaii 5-0 finished second in at Richo, and Randonier, a lot of good horses come out of that form race. So he looks well handicapped to me. Great run first up at a price. Thought he could run well, and he did, but he was no match for Galaxy Patch. And then there's a horse as well with Jamie Richards, first start the race. Now look at this, he jumps well enough, giddy up. I want to get Shane's thoughts on this in a moment. Obviously allowed to find his feet early. Gee, I don't know what happened after he got to the back of the field. He became detached and quickly came off the bridle, and you'd see Brenton, he had to sort of chase him up to tack onto the field. He sort of almost looked a bit clueless. You could see him, he starts to drive him along to tack onto the field. Now I mentioned that the track on Wednesday, nothing wrong with sweeping around them. We saw a lot of horses come down the centre part of the track and a lot of horses covered ground. So I know Never Too Soon was inside him there, but he actually cuts the corner and comes up inside and away from the rail on the straight. But giddy up, Shane stayed on the fence, and I don't think it was a spot to be, and it was a very good closing effort from him after looking, I don't know, what did you make of that early part?
Yeah, he just got a bit lost around there. I kind of disagree with the track. I think the track was no good for 4 races, and I backed United Happy or whatever it's called, and Glorious something, the outside gate in that race, the 1,000-metre race, because they were going to be back and wide and swooping, and one was 20-1 and the other was 8s or something. They run first and third, so you are correct. But then what happened was they rolled the track after that race, and it completely changed. If you have a look at the race then, the horses on the fence won most races, the last 4 races.
They may have, but they came out to what lanes in the straight as they did last race did it as well. Shane, were Never Too Soon.
They turned for home and they just stayed where they are because it swings out 4 horses. But they weren't coming way down the outside like they were previously, right? And you can have a look at Never Too Soon. He was on the fence, cut the corner, come through 3 off, which to me is on the fence because you got to go back. But you are correct. Early on it was big swoopers. So he just got lost, that horse, Clint, and he didn't know where he was. And he should learn a lot from that, and it was a nice run, you're correct.
Yeah. So 2 horses go into that SID file, and Hutch, I look ahead, it's about 10 weeks by calculation until the 4-year-old series starts. So in Hong Kong, we're always looking for the next Derby horse, and through G1 Goldmine, you throw the lens over that to see if we can discover one.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of these horses are coming from all over parts of the world, and we'd like to see how they line up, and is this going to be a Derby-type horse? And just looking at the pedigree using the distance impact profile, he seems more like a 12 to 1600 metre horse with a sweet spot arguably over 1400 metres. So look, this isn't definitive, but it's a fantastic guide. We love the Group 1 Goldmine stuff, and I often use it if I'm just having a look at a horse, whether or not he'll get over a little bit further. But buying pending out of a Blackfriars mare, and I think he might find it a little tougher over a bit further, but on the back of that run, more than happy to say that he'll be one to follow, even if he went back to Sha Tin.
Okay,
so is there a horse you're interested in for the Derby now that hasn't raced? You look at the trials and all their pedigree and know where they come from.
Oh no, I haven't gone that deep into it, Shane. It's still early days, but we did talk about Chilchibi recently, who put up a couple of good numbers. There's another runner actually that run quite well. John Sizer's got a couple that are right up in the ratings already, and they look like nice milers at this point, but whether or not they'll get the Derby trip, I'm not sure. But Helios Express, is he? I think he might be the 4-year-old category, isn't he? But I'd have to go back and double check the age group with a few, but I think John Size had a couple there that were interesting.
Okay, so Genius or Slaughter, an opportunity for all the jockeys to sit up. Grab their pens, boys. They're about to go into the classroom with Shane Dye.
The end across, answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it. Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
We crudely call this genius or slaughter. It's an opportunity for the Hall of Famer, the Golden Boy, to have a look at the rides in Hong Kong. Shane, who did you like?
A lot of good rides. I put a few up, but I've got to go to Brendan. Why he's riding better now. He'll say it's because he's getting better rides. It's not. He's doing things different the last 4 weeks. You watch this horse here. He comes out, he goes straight to the fence. At no stage does he want to get away from it, and he's saving energy the whole race, and he brings this horse into the race at the right time. Before, when he was riding, he was going wide, a little bit impatient. Now he's very patient. He was getting beat heads because he was burning energy throughout a race. At present, he's not burning energy in races, and it's telling, and these horses are kicking. At no stage did he want to leave the fence. He just waited, and you'll see in the straight he comes out a little bit, and he saved the horse, and that's the only reason it won. Have a look. He hasn't looked like coming out. He said to himself, I'm going to get a run at some stage, and once I do, I've got enough energy, the horse will quicken, and it did, and it wins by a head. And that's what won the race. If he was looking to get off the fence at the 700 and getting round them, there's no way this horse would have won.
Yeah, it was sweet to watch, wasn't it? Also the way, and this is something, Shane, you've spoken about a lot, he never grabbed hold of the horse and held him up. He just allowed him just seamlessly to go through his gears there.
Yeah, but he's changed. A lot of Australian jockeys, when they come, do get lost. The only one I've seen that hasn't is Huey Bowman. Huey's been a star since day one. But you go back, Nasrallah got lost but changed and rode really well before he had to leave. Blake Sheen was another one, got lost when he come, and then after a year picked it up. And Brendan was a bit like that too last season at the start of this season. But lately he's starting to change, and he's starting to understand the racing here. See, Richo, the trouble with the races here is these horses are so even. There's nothing between them and the handicap. So it's the horses that are saving energy, not covering ground, working in races. I know that sometimes they're going to win those horses, but the majority are the ones that are getting the good runs because the horses are so even. And that's the thing. It's good rides, saving energy, and it's the difference between winning and losing, Clint.
It is. And the other thing I'll say about a couple of those results on the weekend, and Helios Express is a 4-year-old by Toronado. We'll profile him another week, but he's probably going to compete up to the Classic Mile for the 4-year-olds, one would imagine. But he might be a Derby horse, and he's a pretty smart horse. Yes. Horse like Flying Ace, I know he's been carrying weight. He's been ready to win for a while now, and he ran on extremely well there. Gee, a couple of those horses aren't far away from those top-line sprinters in Hong Kong as well. So I think we're going to see a changing the guard there, and a couple of them I think would be not too far away from the better ones they've got going around. So we've got an interesting few months ahead.
Well, he's a winner waiting to happen, Flying Ace. He's just going to win a couple of races very soon when things go right for him in a run. He just wins for sure, that horse.
Racing's greatest prize is, of course, the Idol. Surely a 4-timer on a Sunday's worth 3 or 4 points, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I gave him a couple. They were nice rides. There was nothing spectacular, but he's riding well. Now, DeMilo rode Never Too Soon. I thought that was a very good ride because he drew wide, but he switched to the inside, saved all the ground and got through. Ferraris on Scotch Tycoon gets a point because the stewards interviewed him after the race, and he said, were you told to lead? Because that horse races off the pace. And he said, no, that wasn't my instructions, but he jumped so well, so I thought I would. So it's good to see a jockey doing something to win a race, which the trainer didn't say to do before the race. So I gave him a point for that. Now, Hamlin rode 2 winners over the 2 meetings and rode them both very, very well. One was, of course, Tammo Blitz, had a beautiful run on the weekend, and Earnest Feeling, so he gets a point. Vincent rode a double and not great rides, back circled them in the best part of the track. That's why they won. And, of course, the horse that Clint highlighted before in the 2,000-metre race, Straight Aaron, he gave that a perfect ride. And then you got Karras. Now, Karras's ride on Galaxy Patch was a classic example of what I've been talking about. at the 700 metres, if you watch it, he could have come out 3 wide and it looked as though he was going to do it. And he switched back in and said no. And then he got held up and he come through the field. And that's what won him the race. Actually, to be truthful, that horse still might have won if he had gone round them. But he saved the energy and it was a very good ride. So that's what I put up.
And a Group 2 double for Zach Burton, so he gets a point as well.
He gets a point. He rode 3 winners, Group 2 double. He's got to get a point.
So let's have a look at the overall leaderboard as they battle for the trophy amongst all trophies. Racing's highest honour. So Zach on 13, Bowman 11 and Avdallah on 9 is our voting at the moment. No slaughters at all, Shane, this week?
No, nothing stuck in my mind, so the boys can rest easy.
Let's talk global racing. Our focus for global racing is in Japan. Before we get to the Japan Cup, Hutch, you've referenced Namur, who's scheduled to come and race in Hong Kong. Have a look at this this unbelievable mile win. Last. And the acceleration at the end, Shane, is breathtaking.
Well, I haven't seen this.
Check it out. Just watch him in action.
Ryan Moore was meant to ride this, and of course he had a fall on the day. Now, watch this, and these would be very good milers if it's a mile in Hong Kong Group 1. That has to be a chance in the Hong Kong mile, you would think, in Hong Kong against Golden 60 on that run. I don't know that previous form, her previous form.
Well, she's got talent, Hutch, there's no doubting that.
Yeah, well, Ryan generally gets some pretty good rides, so she was always going to be a good chance in that race. And what I liked about the win is that she sat back and shows that turn of foot, and we know that the pattern on the day can be really suitable. So I think she's going to probably lob in a similar position to Golden 60, and she can obviously reel off a sectional. So, you know, he's a superstar, as we know, but he's probably had a year. He's had some races there where he hasn't had a lot of opposition, and he's been too good for the Japanese in the past. But I get the feeling with Namur, she's a little cut above the rest.
And also, he's just that little bit older. Let's be honest too, and let's be fair to him. He's been an absolute champion, but he's not getting any younger. Hey, this is going to be some race, isn't it? The Japan Cup. The #1 rated horse in the world in Equinox in action up against Liberty Island. It will be a absolute beauty. Remember the days, Shane, when Australian horses went over and this was the great race they always tried to win? Better Loosen Up was able to do it, but you rode over there.
Yeah, I rode a couple of Japan Cups. Horlicks won it for Lance O'Sullivan back in 1989. And she ran a world record that day on that track. So Australian horses used to go well in it, you know, but of course we don't go there anymore. It's not the race it used to be, Richo. Like back in the 80s, 90s, this is the race in the world you wanted to win. But it has dropped off a little bit internationally.
Well, it's dropped
there's
off.
Only one international raider, Hutch. That's it.
Yeah, well, it's dropped off in international. It's a stronger race now than it was, and yes, you don't have the international competition because it's not as easy to go there and win. They frighten everyone away.
That's 100%, Clint, what you said there. We don't want to go there because we can't beat their horses on their turf. They're too good.
It's the best race in the world, hardest race in the world at the moment to win. I know, Richo, you're a big fan of the Arc, and so are you, Shane. Yeah. But this is the race that, on good ground, that the best horses. Well, put it this way: it's the hardest one to win. The format of it every year works out well globally, and it will again this year.
And Huey Bowman won the race a couple of years ago. There is the only Aussie flavour. But, you go back to think about, Shane mentioned Horlicks and Better Loosen Up before that from an Australian point of view, and Stylish Century went over there and ran, and Shaftesbury Avenue. The list goes on of quality horses back in the 80s and 90s that had a crack at the race, but it has been a long time since. All right, let's try to find a winner on Sunday at Sha Tin. Racing on Sha Tin on Sunday. Hutch, really looking forward to that. Let's start race number 7. Steer us in, or winner.
I'm loving the races at the moment, Richo, in Hong Kong. Well, I love them every week, but the quality has really stepped up week to week now, and this is a fantastic meeting. Look, in the feature, the Chevalier Cup, Super Sunny Singh, I've got marked a longer price favourite than what he'll be. He'll probably be a lot shorter than this. And I'll be betting accordingly, depending on my prices. I'll be happy to back a horse like Happy Together, who's won his 2 for Frankie Law this year. Absolutely flying. Maxwell drops in weight. Atala Begil brings that Silvestre form. That was a great one. And Red Lion will strip a little bit fit. It's an even race for me. Now, Super Sunny Sim, we saw Straight Aaron come out of this race and win, so there's a positive. The race shape didn't suit him, and the inside was probably a bit better this day, but they've gone back to the mile, Shane, and I'm just looking at his mile figures and where he's at now, and I don't want to be too strongly in his camp, even though I've got him marked favourite.
Yeah, it's a funny race. You can go. This horse here should have won the best peach. He's flying, this horse. If he gets a fast run race with Telecom Fighters, whether he does go too quick, and of course Circuit Stella will go forward, I reckon with 115 pounds or 18 pounds, he's going to hit the line fast too, Clint. I don't know about Super Sunny Singh. I know he was very, very good 2 starts ago, but last start he was so disappointing. But coming back to the mile is really going to suit him, and he's definitely got the ability. We know that.
Yeah, the problem is that if you like him, you've got to make a case for a horse like Spirited Express. I mean, with Happy Together, he just maps so well. He's going to land on the back of the speed. He drops, 5 kilos in weight. And I like that form, the best peach form. But the problem with the best peach is he doesn't have any early speed. So he'll be well back in the run. And Atala Begil's going really well. And he's 1 for 1 over the mile. So that's a race where, according to my market, Shane, I'll bet accordingly. Those are my numbers. But I think Super Sunny Singh will be shorter. And I'll be happy to play around him.
There's no doubt that Frankie Law has improved this horse this year from Gibson last year. That's 100%. He's flying Happy Together, and he looks the real product now.
So we move to race number 8 here. Hutch, where do we start with our betting plan?
Gee, it's a nice little race this as well, and a very competitive race, the 8th event. I'm going to stick with Supreme Lucky's one of mine. I got J-Max on board. I love that booking, and I think there's a position for him in the run to get a nice run in the race, and a race without much speed. Cheng will be fitter. He was unlucky last start. He's going to go well. Alacrity's in good form for Jamie Richards and Zach Purton sticking. He's got to be a good chance. And Dancing Code, the saddle slip last start in that Silvestre race, and he certainly had an excuse, although it's a little tricky gate for him. This is the time when Dancing Code ran against Supreme Lucky. But Shane, I know Alacrity beat Supreme Lucky at home here, but he was caught wide out on a limb the whole way, Supreme Lucky, and I think he gets a better run in transit here.
He does get a better run, you would think. I think you said there wasn't a lot of pace. I might be wrong or heard you wrong, but there is pace. You've got Flying Rabbit from gate 3 with the kid on. He's going to go. And you've also got Drombag Banner, who won last start. He's going to go from gate 10. He'll probably come across and lead. So I think the pace will be warranted here, and they will go along a bit, Clint.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke. I think there's good pace to allow Supreme Lucky to get in, but it is a race...
Yeah.
I think there's a spot for Supreme Lucky, put it that way. I think from gate 7, which can be a bit tricky, those middle draws for J-Mac, I think he can slot into like a 1-1 type position, and he'll be chasing a nice speed. Dromberg Banner's in good form, as you mentioned. I think the pace will be good enough. He's a key runner, Flaming Rabbit, that you mentioned, Shane. What do we do with him? He's playing first up. Douglas has given him 2 trials since, and he has the 5 kilo claimer on board. Like, can he turn it around?
Well, he's only got 125 pounds with the kid on. He takes 10 pounds off. So he's got the ability. He was terrible last start, but his 2 trials have been good. Naturally, they were in China. I think he went up there. He had 1 trial in China or 2 in China. So he wouldn't be a surprise because his form last year was amazing looking at this. And the horses he was running against, all that form strong, Clint.
Yeah, it is, and it's a good race. I mean, Alacrity's going well. Dancing Code was good there. He's back down in class, and we've mentioned a couple others like Ching. But I'm happy to be with Supreme Lucky. I think Ching's a big improver as well, and hopefully we can get a result there, and hopefully it'll be a result for J-Mac.
Yeah, I'll tell you one horse can definitely go better if they go along in the race, and he's going to be big odds, and that's Fine My Love. Like last start, he had no hope, and then he nearly fell. Well, he did when that horse fell in front of him. And the start before that, he had no hope. If they go too quick here, he sits back down the outside. He's going to be big odds because everyone thinks he's not going as well as he is. He's not the worst.
Well, Hutch, race number 10, James McDonald on Beauty Crest. Let's finish in style.
Yeah, it's a good race to finish the card, but then once again a competitive event where I think the favourite deserves to be going out at a reasonable price. And look, I'm a big fan of this horse, Global Harmony. The map's not in his favour. He could be caught on a tricky spot, but I loved his first up win. I think he's got a lot more to offer. And he, of course, got the better of Ladies' Choice. They've gone from blinkers to winkers. He does map well. Beauty Crescent brings form lines in around Global Harmony. He's got to be in the mix. And what about Pierre Rung and this horse? Absolutely flying, goes forward and probably says, catch me if you can again. This was a fantastic ride from Caris. Beauty Crescent was a bit unlucky. Of course, we've got Golden Empire out of the race. There's not much between them, Shane. I've got a lot of time for the winner. I think he's got a lot of upside. He strips, he'll be second up going to this race. We've got Ladies' Choice, who maps nice in. He hasn't really run a bad race either this prep, so it's another very, very competitive event.
Well, all the races we've looked at, Clint, are competitive, and you can make a case for a lot of horses in these races. I've got them on top Global Harmony. Now, the good thing about race 10 is you're going to know where they're winning from. Is it a leader's track? Can they come from back and wide? So that's what will tell me whether I back them or not, how the track is racing. Of course, Ladies' Choice will get a better run than him, and I think he meets him 4 pounds better to Ladies' Choice on that last win or second to him. But it's a competitive race, but he's the horse that I think could be going higher at Global Harmony.
Yeah, he looks like he's destined to go a little bit higher. But it's another race where the form will work out really well. You mentioned the track, just a note, and it doesn't always correlate, but this meeting last year, it was a very fair track. They could win from anywhere, which is what we want to see, and I'm hoping it plays the same way, because it's a meeting that I think overall will probably provide plenty of future winners. And I think Global Harmony, he's got something a little bit special. He might be flying the flag for Hazy at this point in time. He looks like one of his better prospects in the stable.
Time to grab your pens, everyone, because we're going to find out if these two geniuses agree here on their best bets. Start with you, Hutch.
Yeah, it's a good meeting. I've got one a little earlier on the card that we can certainly play, and that's Packing Bowl. What a performance on the dirt. Yes, he had the pattern in his favour when bolting home for Danny Schum and Andrea at Zenny. But gate 2, yes, he's got Addyfield to beat for J-Mac. I think they clear out from the rest, and I'm hoping that Packing Bowl makes every post a winner, and he seemed a different horse on the all-weather track. And I like Supreme Lucky again. I think Supreme Lucky with J-Mac gets a nice park in the race behind that pace that we heard Shane mention with Flaming Rabbit and Dromberg Banner. And I want to take Cornellas. I think Alacrity and Ching, I think it's a really good race to attack. We back Supreme Lucky, we back the Cornellas, and hopefully we get the cash.
Love the sound of that. And, of course, Hutchie's Honkers for a full analysis. Just subscribe and sit back and enjoy and gamble responsibly, but you'll have a lot of fun. What do you think, RS?
I'll go Master Hero race 5. He could get a very soft lead. There doesn't seem to be too much pace. And if it's a non-paced leader's track, he's going to be very hard to run down. His last run was good. He should have won last start. But there's a couple in there that are going quite nice, Clint. Superwise Dragon's improving every run. Sharp and Bright, the bottom one, it went good. If it drops a class, it'll be winning for sure. So there's a few in there that aren't going too bad.
Yep, Angus, I hope he learned his lesson from last start, Shane, because Tony would not have been happy. What are you doing? Go forward and lead. It's not that hard.
Well, it's not hard in this race because there's nothing that's
It wasn't hard in that one either.
And also, Rachel King was scheduled to join us, but then we had a little delay with some of her trials. So she is an apology. She will catch up with us before the International Jockey Challenge. So Rach's just calling through saying very sorry that she couldn't join our Triple Trio family. Hutch, the build-up is really in earnest at the moment, isn't it? We're getting ready for the international meeting, but also good weekend of punting.
No, absolutely, Rich. I'm really looking forward to this meeting. And I'll say this as well, and I'm sure Shane would have seen it. There's a very interesting race on the card, race 2. A couple of new horses there that have trialled well and might be one potential star in the making in that lineup. So make sure you tune into Sha Tin on the weekend. It's going to be a cracking meeting.
Oh, watch and make sure you download Hutchie's Honkers there, Shane.
Not Lucky Bobo.
No.
Or do I downgrade?
Well, that it sounds like that, but it isn't quite. We know the names is not your forte, Shane, and
A loyal Bobo. I haven't got my glasses on. I forget name. What is it called? Loyal Bobo.
Yeah.
This number 2 will be hard to beat in that Wonder Bar.
Yes.
He went above what I thought he would last start. So that's a good race. You got Zach and you've got James, and they've drawn beside each other, 4 and 2. Two nice horses.
And we
Very
should mention before we go as well, Richo. Great. I mean, I know you mentioned at the top with J-Mac riding there, but he's there for 5 weeks. I love to see that he's getting some nice quality rides there, and Wonder Bar looks a fantastic chance for him, that race that I referenced as well. So look, he takes the world by storm wherever he goes. He's a Longines, the International Jockey Championship they have through the year, isn't it? So he's won that prize, and I think he'll have a big impact, and hopefully it starts on the weekend at Sha Tin.
Yeah, beautifully said. Golden Boy, always a pleasure, especially reflecting on all your brilliance this week at the Hall of Fame here in Australia.
Mate, I'm having sleepless nights.
Oh, why?
It's just over a week before I go to Hong Kong with you, and it's getting very exciting, mate, going away with you.
You better strap yourself in, big unit.
Watch out for Lang Kwai Fong by the sound of it, Richo. But anyway, we'll have a good time.
I'm going to run off Richo.
We'll only be there on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching the Triple Trio. We look forward to your company next week, and good luck at Sha Tin on Sunday.